Say hello to Mr. Black.
We are talking about the movie The Executioners. This one written and directed by Giorgio Serafini, and is essentially a rape revenge / home invasion movie. It focuses on 4 female friends as they have decided to get away and go to this kind of remote lake house for a kind of a little bit of a getaway. Of course, when we get there, there's no kind of mobile phone signal, cell signal, anything like that, so they're kind of pretty much cut off. And they're almost immediately harassed by some kind of unknown force. And it turns out that this is actually 3 guys who have decided that they want to kind of break in, rape and kind of torture these women and ultimately make their lives a living hell. Now, can these women survive? Will they actually turn the tables and become the executioners themselves? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. So let's talk about the executioners, what works and what doesn't work with this movie. So let's go with the positives first of all. First thing for me, this movie does have some very brutal scenes. It kind of has a bit of a TV movie feel to it initially, but when it gets going, it really does kind of knuckle down on kind of having some quite kind of brutal scenes that are actually pretty uncomfortable to watch. But obviously if you are a fan of kind of like more extreme cinema, then this may be to your taste. If you've seen things like I Spit on Your Grave, it will remind you of those sort of style movies where they really do kind of make you feel very kind of uneasy and uncomfortable to watch this type of thing. So I was kind of surprised at the level of brutality that this kind of movie kind of went to, and it does kind of have prolonged sequences of you know, some pretty horrible stuff. So this movie has the gloves off, absolutely. And I've got to say, one of the other things that I like with this movie is that the way the females are quite proactive in trying to defend themselves. When they kind of know the jig is up, basically. They actually try to kind of defend themselves, putting glass on the stairs first of all. This kind of gets a little bit like Home Alone, I suppose. But I actually kind of quite like the fact that they arm themselves, they kind of try to take precautions ultimately. And so it does make it for, you know, these women do seem somewhat intelligent and kind of, and are able to kind of like hold their wits together in a kind of a somewhat realistic way. That was all pretty good, and I kind of did like the relationship between the characters, at least initially. I think it kind of does take a little bit of a sideways momentum as the movie goes on, but initially these guys do seem like kind of some good friends. I also got to say that on a technical side, I thought this movie was quite well shot. All the lighting seems very kind of good, and kind of you know, it has a kind of a nice polished professional feel to it. Doesn't seem like it's made by a bunch of amateurs. However, where the movie goes wrong, I would say, first and foremost, is the writing. The writing here, I've got to say, is a little bit on the weaker side, and maybe kind of goes hand in hand with some of the directing, at least. I feel it does one of these things, a trope that I hate, that shows you a scene near the end of the movie that you see at the beginning, because you're always just waiting until that point comes in the movie. I hate this trope. And this one, I would say, it's not a scene that happens right at the end of the movie. It's kind of about 3/4 of the way through. But nonetheless, I still personally hate that trope. Anyway, that aside, what else doesn't work? So I don't feel the setup is particularly strong with this movie. You don't quite know, you know, the backstory of these women, the kind of the reasons for being there. We see some flashbacks with kind of, I guess, our main kind of like woman, about, you know, maybe some painful memories she's had at this particular house. But nonetheless, it just seems a little bit unclear the reasons why they're going there and stuff like that. So I just seem to skip over it, first of all. But the real kind of poor writing comes along is when we actually kind of get our kind of home invaders come into the house, because it just really takes some quite silly turns, unfortunately. And I don't want to give anything away, but suffice to say, there's some really illogical things happening. Alliances are made that just seem to come out of nowhere. Things that happen that are just ridiculous. Just to give you one small example that really kind of beggars belief. So I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's a lot of these sort of things. So it's established that there is no phone signal anywhere in this house with at least 4 phones, because all 4 have been tried. So there's no phone signal. But one of the home invaders is apparently streaming the invasion via a kind of a webcam. So we're meant to believe that we can't get a kind of a 2G phone signal in this house through potentially 4 carriers. Yet this guy is able to kind of stream video from a kind of like a GoPro style camera. Come on, you know. It's a little, that's a small thing. I don't want to give away too many kind of plot details, but nonetheless, there are some very kind of silly things that happen in this movie. Decisions that are made, you know, just dumb things. People not checking stuff, people not checking whether someone's really dead, all those kind of things. They all happen. It just really kind of like slaps you around the head a little bit, and you kind of just think, man, this film ultimately is making some very kind of sort of dumb decisions. The movie does have a little bit of a twist to it, so obviously I'm not going to give away here, but I don't know, it didn't really feel that earned to me, if I'm completely honest. I mean, I guess it's quite a neat twist, but nonetheless, I don't know, it felt like it was almost wrote backwards to a certain degree. The acting for the women, I would say, is pretty decent. The actual kind of camaraderie, at least like I said at the beginning of the movie, seems quite genuine. It does kind of fall apart towards the end, I will say. We have our kind of first victim and no one seems to give an F, but there you go. But at least initially it seems quite good. But the guys, when these kind of 3 guys came in, I mean, they're all kind of like dude bro type home invaders. But there's some really kind of overacting from these guys. A lot of posturing and stuff like that, and it seems very much kind of over the top in a kind of a style of acting as well. So this movie becomes, despite the fact that I feel it has some brutal moments and some kind of like quite neat ideas in regards to the story, the minutiae, the detail is quite poor, and it just becomes very schlocky ultimately. So this is not an intelligent kind of like thriller like I feel it maybe wants to be to a certain degree, and it ends up becoming quite a schlocky B-movie kind of style home invasion film with a rape revenge kind of angle. It's not bad, I would say. It is still quite fairly well made, and there are some kind of quite violent and brutal scenes in it, and like I said, if you like that kind of style cinema, then I feel you'll get a lot from it. But it doesn't kind of like really elevate this kind of this subgenre. I mean, obviously there are films that have this kind of subject matter that I feel do this a lot better, but it's certainly not bad. And if you like that kind of movie, I feel that you'll be entertained by it at least. But it does kind of go at a fair pace. It doesn't waste time. It gets pretty much straight into the action. But just really be prepared to switch your brain off to a certain degree. So I'll give this movie a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.